Hello everyone, welcome to this tutorial. Due to popular request, I'm going to show you guys how to run comps. Here you'll see this is the GSMLS, and this is for most of the northern counties in New Jersey. I have access because I do have my real estate license. However, you can gain access by partnering up with real estate agents or just by getting licensed yourself. To get more information on MLS Access, refer to the other post in the forum. So we'll jump right in. Here I'm going to log in, and you'll see here is their system. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and type in Craigslist. We'll try to bring up a property as a test case scenario, and let's put cheap property. Okay, let's see if we could find something that'll be found or that will have a variety of comps in the GSMLS. GSMLS does cover all the counties. You'll see them listed here. However, when you start searching really far down South Jersey, I'll just show you really fast, there is more than 7 listings in Cape May and Atlantic County. So you'll see that this would not be the best MLS system to use for those areas. However, if you select just Morris County, and it exceeds what they're willing to display. So let me just close out of there. Okay. Great rehab deal. This could be a good test case scenario. This is in Dover. We're going to have plenty of comps in the area because it is Morris County. So according to this poster, we're looking at 172,000 ARV. They're asking 111, 14 grand of repairs, and a total profit. I could tell you right off the bat that I know this would exceed $14,000 of repairs, and I'll tell you why. In a simple kitchen, even if you're going for Home Depot stuff and you're doing it yourself, you're probably looking at a minimum of $6,000 to $8,000. Again, that's complete budget, small kitchen, Home Depot, nothing great. If you're going to do a halfway decent kitchen, I think on average you're looking at 10 to 12 on the low side, and then obviously when you start getting into fancier granite countertops, etc., it goes up from there. But as a basic rule of thumb, on average I usually estimate between 10, 12, sometimes 15 for kitchens, anywhere between 5 and 7 grand for baths. Obviously if it's a half bath, it could be even less. Now again, these are just ballpark estimates. You don't have to be right on the money. You could even estimate on the higher end, especially if you're wholesaling out properties. That way you have some buffer room, and worst case scenario is you actually you hit the number that you're expecting, or in the better scenario, you're actually going to make more money. But as far as 14,000 for this, I don't think so. I don't, maybe they could do some small updates, or not every. I guess it depends on what he's planning on, or she is planning on updating. But you can see this is going to need paint. The rugs are going to need replaced, cleaning. Let's see, the bathroom here, and this looks like another bathroom. I mean, right, the 2 bathrooms alone, and then the kitchen. You're exceeding those costs. However, let's just move on, and we'll go ahead and analyze this. So this particular property, I don't see the bedrooms or baths listed here. Okay, it says 3 bedroom, and I think that's 2 or 1.5. He gives a link. Let's see what we're dealing with. 3 bedrooms, 3 baths. Okay, so if you have to update those 3 baths, I think you're looking at close to 14 grand right there. But now we have our details. We also have the property address. What we do is we bring up the MLS system. Now, I'm interested in what has sold. However, it doesn't hurt to see what's on the market, what's under contract, what's active. And for this system, US means under contract, continue to show, I believe. Let's try to find some listings that are on the same street. So again, we have East McFarland, and I believe we could just abbreviate like such to get all the property. Okay. So we have, it looks like 4 active and 2 sold. Coincidentally enough, you have the actual property address. Now I just want to note, any information that we could find is beneficial. For example, I'm going to click on this link and we see the list price is $169. The OLP, which is the original list price, is $225. To me, this tells me, based off of this listing here, if this is not the homeowner trying to sell it on their own, I get a good idea of, okay, here we have an active listing at 169, and it's been listed, let's see, days on the market for 473. I should be able to find when this was dropped from 225 to 169. But the fact that it's been on the property for a while, been on the MLS for a while, usually would be red flags. I'm looking now, and the reason being is because it's subject to bank approval. What that means is it's either a short sale or an REO. Because this, let's see, it doesn't say bank owned, and again, if it said, okay, here it says short sale. So if it didn't say short sale and it says subject to bank approval, it's either a short sale or an REO. The way to tell would be, you could see that the owner, okay, and here we go, it says Walter Rodriguez. So since it's currently owned by this person, it is a short sale. If it was owned by a bank, you can be assured that it's a REO. So continuing forward, again, the 169 purchase price, this is just information that I could use to say, okay, it's listed on the market at 169, how come it hasn't sold? You know, what's wrong with this property? Obviously, it could be the repairs that are necessary, and perhaps we need a lesser purchase price, which is it seems to be the scenario, and it looks like here that either this wholesaler is offering it at, let's see, I believe it was 111. Here you go. So they are offering it at a lesser amount. I can't see how long it's been listed on this website. That would also be some other beneficial information to see, okay, if this thing's been listed for a few months, how come it hasn't sold? Usually good deals sell within a couple days, maybe a week or two. Obviously, if it's a different kind of property, maybe a commercial property, they could sit on the market a little longer, or if there's some issues that could prevent a quick sale, liens, etc. But for all intents and purposes, if it is a true deal, they do sell quickly. That's another thing to remember. Okay, back on track. Let's go ahead and try to run some comps here. So for running comps, we want to make sure that the property that we're running comparables for, we want the other results, the solds that is, to be relatively close. Now, depending on where you live, or I should say depending on where you're investing, this can vary greatly. So for example, in certain towns in Morris County, the closest comps may be 3, 4, 5 miles away, whereas you have other towns where, you could see here that there's a few of them, or highly populated cities where there's quite a few within a quarter-mile radius. Ideally, a quarter-mile radius is what you'd like to run your comps. You could branch out accordingly, and so anyway, here we have bedrooms and baths. It's mentioned in that other link that it was 3 bedrooms, 3 baths. You try to get as close as you can. So first and foremost, you want to get properties that are close and that you're comparing apples to apples. You don't want to compare a 2-bedroom, 1 bath to a 4-bedroom, 2 bath. It's not a close comparison. But again, we could also use this information for, basically to gauge where we stand. So for example, if we see 4-bedroom, 2 baths are selling for, here we go, we have this, let's see, okay, that one doesn't have a sold price listed here, this one does, it says $245. So we have 4 bedrooms, 2 full baths, this sold for $245. Now keep in mind a few things. This closing date was almost a year ago. Right now, the filming of this video is July 17, 2013. Depending on where the market is in relation to this time, plays an effect. Has it increased? Has it decreased? Not only that, we want to see, okay, what was the condition? If it was in relatively good condition, and here you have 4 bedrooms and 2 baths, let's just say a lot more of a house that's being offered, well, then we're going to have to gauge that accordingly to see, okay, the house that we're looking to buy, how does it compare? If this is much more of a house, let's just assume that this sold recently, a month ago, and let's just say it was the 3-bedroom, 2-bath, or 3-bedroom, 3-bath, and it was a lot more of a house that was offered, and it only sold for $240. But then you could safely say that, you know what, I'm buying a lesser of a house. It probably will sell for less. Obviously, there's multiple things to be considered. If this house was not fixed up brand new and we're rehabbing a house to completely new, you can see that there is many variables, but everything must be taken into consideration, and the more information that we have, again, the better. You'll see that I don't have any interior pictures. I don't see information saying if it's a fixer-upper, if it's a short sale, etc. But we just take note. One thing I always like to do is also take note of the tax-assessed value. Now, I don't think that these reflect the actual value of the property. You could see the town thinks it's worth $329,800, and what did it sell for? It sold for $245. What I do use this for is a ratio. So I know if I'm looking at various properties, let's say 5 or so, and I see that most of the properties were assessed by the town around 300, 320, 330, and most of them are selling at 200, 220, 230, I could say, okay, well, again, condition depending, that if I look at a property that doesn't need a ton of repairs and the town assesses it for X, I could carry over that same ratio to say, okay, this is where I would need to purchase this at for it to make sense. So that could be useful information as well. Let me close this up and let's look at the other sold. This is a 4-bedroom, 2-bath. Let's see, fresh paint, clean carpets, newer kitchen. We can look through some of the. Okay, they only give one interior photo. It's hard to tell by that. Offered as is. It sounds like there might be some some repairs necessary. This one says Home Path, Fannie Mae. So this was a bank-owned property. It does not say what this sold for. The original list price was $232,900, and then it dropped to $224,000. It's tough to run comps on this based off of this information without the sale price. But a few things to note: that this would be something to consider. It looks like it was closed almost 4 months back, actually 3 months back, and it sold rather quickly. And here's our price point. So, we can use this information when evaluating to help guide us. Sorry, I don't know why this keeps popping up. To help give us information of where we should be with our property. Ideally, I would like to see if it was 3 bedrooms, 3 baths, but I'd like to note, okay, so it is accurate. Okay, so I'd like to know, obviously you don't see any 3 bedrooms, 3 baths, but we do see right here 2 bedrooms, 2 baths. Let's click on that one. Let's see what that one looks like. Okay. Looks in rather good condition, maybe some light updating if necessary. It's on the market for $227,900. This is 2 bedrooms, 2 baths, which means the property that we're looking at is offering more. And I always take note of the assessment for the town. So this one just gives us information as far as what what's on the market. Again, anyone could ask anything for their property. That doesn't mean they're going to get it, so keep that in mind. What I do think is that if it's a realtor that knows what they're doing, and they're not asking an astronomically high price based off other values, that they've done some homework, hopefully, and that this price point isn't too far off. But again, it's something to consider. The asking price and the competition if you were to go ahead and purchase the property and rehab it and put it back on the market, or if you're purchasing it and you're factoring for a wholesale value. If we look at another one on East McFarland, 4 bedrooms, 2 baths. This one is active. This one has a list price of $130, and it looks like they increased the list price amount, and obvious reasons or typical reasons is that it's subject to lender approval. My guess is they had a BPO, and that's what the bank is willing to accept. So again, this one is a 4 bedroom, 2 bath. We don't know much about the repairs inside. Again, this is just giving us some information of what's on the market. Let's try to narrow down just solds. We'll take out, well, you know what, we'll leave this in, and we'll put a maximum of 3 bedrooms and 3 baths. And what I want to do is I want to put in some more street addresses. So let's find out. Let's see if I'm spelling this right. Google will correct me. I was hoping Google would correct me. Okay, East McFarland. Let's try that. There we go. Okay, so here we go. I want to zoom in, and we can see some neighboring streets. So I want to try to narrow this down a little bit, because if I put all of Dover based off that criteria, I imagine I'm going to get too many results. So we already have East McFarland. We noticed that there wasn't 3 bedroom, 3 baths, but we want to try to find some more similar properties. Another thing to note that I glanced over was the type of property. Again, comparing apples to apples, you want to do your best to compare a ranch to a ranch, a colonial to a colonial. If you're comparing a ranch to a duplex, you're not giving a very accurate comparison. So again, that's something to definitely to note, and you want to get them as close as possible. Sometimes that's not always a doable scenario, but again, giving all the information that we're trying to obtain, we try to get in and formulate the number the best we can. So let me just type in some abbreviations here based off of neighboring streets, and I'm just putting these on, and if necessary I could always just put more and branch out farther, but let's try that. Okay, and it looks like it gave us the McFarland ones and only a few others, so let's see. And most of those are active, although we did have one that was sold, 3 bedroom, 2 bath, and this one sold for $230. This said completely renovated. So again, if we're looking at the same type of house, this is only a street over. 3 bedroom, 2 bath, and a 3 bedroom, 3 bath. I'd say they're relatively close, and I think if the other one had a excuse me, if the other one was a similar house style, we could say, okay, our ARV would roughly be around, give or take, $230,000. So what I do is I go through multiple properties, hopefully getting 4 or 5 at least. If not, we do the best we can with what we have. But let's say I came across one that was sold for $230, one that was sold for $250, one that was sold for $245. I would probably take the lower of the comps. Usually you take either the average of the lower ones or let's say the lower 3 comps. It really depends. It's a matter of personal preference. I use the lower comps so that I err on the side of caution, so that I could almost play a worst case scenario. Depending how close the comps are, some people might do an average. Again, I like to do the lower 3 comps, and then I take that as my ARV, and I'll subtract the repairs, and then we could formulate the offer from there. Again, depending on your strategy, whether you're a wholesaler and you're going to perform a formula such as 65 cents on the dollar or 70 cents on the dollar or 50 cents on the dollar, depending on your area and the market. Then you minus your repairs, and then you minus your wholesale fee. Or if you're doing it for your own purposes to rehab, again, that's how we typically run comps for investment properties, to err on the side of caution. So let me just go ahead and try to run through a similar case for those of you that don't have MLS access. Let's see if we could use some tools to get an idea of what the property is worth. Now, keep in mind that these automation tools such as Zillow, ePraisal, etc., can vary greatly, and you have to use them with caution. But I personally use them sometimes for some quick evaluations, and if I do a few of them and they all seem to be in the same ballpark, I feel confident I can make that type of offer. Again, the offer would be using those automation sites such as Zillow for the current value. I perform my formulas, and that number I feel confident presenting as a preliminary offer. And I usually do that to test the waters. So here's another one. It's Zillow and ePraisal. I'll just show you these two for this example. Obviously, the more you have, the better. I believe there's another one called Cyber Homes. We could see if that still gives free evaluations. I'm not sure if it does. I think it did at one point. Okay. It looks like this may have changed. At any rate, there's a few that provide this type of service. Okay, actually, I remember RealQuest Express. Let's see if that's the right URL. Okay, so let's just say we use these three. Let's just take, let's see if I can get this spelling right. Okay, here's our spelling. It should pop up saying it's for sale because it is listed in the MLS. Ironically enough, it says not for sale. Okay, let's see what the, I'm not sure why it's giving me this interesting map here. Let's try. There we go. Must be a new feature in Google, but okay. They're giving a Zestimate of 180, so let's go ahead. Let's keep track of these. 180 for its value. Let's go ahead and cut and paste the address. Here's ePraisal. And this one we'll just use. ePraisal is a great tool. It gives both Zillow and ePraisal. One thing to note that sometimes the Zillow value it pulls is not always up to date with the one that's current on Zillow. Okay, we have this value. Okay, this one did not find. Let's try the entire address again. Sometimes these sites are a little funky, so you have to play around with them. Let's try that. Okay, so this one is going to be difficult and not give us the value. But you'll see these values, which it did pull the correct one. So these values aren't too far apart. I mean, enough for me to have a concern where I definitely would want more comps available if possible. If they were a little closer, and again, I mean, this isn't too far. This is probably 25 grand. If you're going to use these and this is the only data you have available to you, to be on the safe side, I would probably use closer to this number. Ideally, if I had a number that said, for example, 170, this was 180, and this thing came back at 175, I would just take the average of those, or again, the lower number, and I would base my formulas and offers off of that number. But you can see the benefits of using these automation is that it's very quick. The downfall is that it's not as accurate. Now, I didn't go through every single property here. We could have typed in more addresses. We could have played around with the total BAS and broadened our range a little bit and hopefully received more solds. But this would be very accurate in regards to giving us a number that we feel comfortable with. If you have MLS access, that's your best bet. If you don't, you could see how we just did basic automation. They call them AVMs, automation. If you don't have MLS access, you can see how we use these websites for some basic values to give us an idea. Now, the problem lies with these sites when you get some outlier, such as this saying it's 156, and then Zillow says it's 450 grand. They're all over the map. I mean, these are close enough where you could, after hunting around a little bit and using more features in Zillow, such as houses that are for sale, and I think you can get some solds. Here you go. If these are similar properties, that gives you an idea. But just using the free information available to you can give you somewhat of a foundation and ballpark offer. So I hope this was helpful for you guys. Feel free to post some questions, and best of luck.